Service your existing car with us right now.
And it's worth £500 off your next car.
Yes, at Macklin Motors Toyota, we'll give you a £500 voucher off any of our brand new Toyotas when you book in for a service with our expert Toyota trained technicians.
We even have complimentary courtesy cars available, so book your service now and get £500 off any new Toyota.
Visit macklinmotors.co.uk or see us at Kennishead Road, Darnley.
Macklin Motors, the new name for Toyota sales and servicing in Glasgow.
Valid on services till 30th September. Excludes Motability and fleet customers. One £500 voucher per vehicle purchased by 31st December.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com. Hosted by Paul Cooney, Barry Ferguson and Mark Guidi. Listen live weeknights from 5. Talking Scottish football first.
Let's go!
Wins for the big two at the weekend. 34 games unbeaten. Celtic, 3-1 victory at Ross County. Rangers a 2-0 win over Kilmarnock. And that scoreline after 90 minutes would take their Champions League qualifier into extra time tomorrow night. Roy, the Rovers appeared, well, in the shape of Martin Boyle yesterday. And in a way too, it was Alfredo Morelos for Rangers, Barry, on Saturday.
Yeah, it had a major effect on the game. Rangers were 1-0 up at that stage. They were pretty comfy, to be honest with you, but when Morelos entered the field, the stadium erupted, and it had a major effect on the game. Obviously getting his goal. Look, I've seen him fitter looking, but listen, you've got to remember he's been out since March. But just to have Morelos back in the squad and getting a bit of minutes on the pitch will be a major boost for Rangers, and hopefully we'll see him on Tuesday night.
We're going to hear from GVB in a moment or two. He's been training today. So too has Ryan Kent, who didn't appear at the weekend. Mark, champion Celtic, 34 league games unbeaten.
Yeah, and a scare getting Ross County getting back to 1-1. So I think we said in the programme on Friday night, Paul, if you're going to win titles, if Celtic's going to retain your championship, then you've got to go to places like Dingwall and win. Malcolm Mackay's team have played well in 2 games, but they've not got any points to show for it. But Celtic had to really dig it out, and once again Jota playing a major part, and Kyogo and getting off the mark as well with an important goal.
Jota, man of the match, Barry. He's a bit special, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he was the difference. A lot of people went on about Kyogo, certainly in the forward areas, and Abada, and rightly so, because he had really good seasons. But for me, when he's on it, he was the difference in games, and it showed up in Dingwall, which is a tough place to go. Mark's right, Ross County played well. They were in the game, they get back in the game, but when Jota's in that type of form, he's hard to stop. And I think that's 3 assists and 1 goal 2 games into the domestic season. So he looks if he's in a good place just now. He's settled, he signed a long-term contract, and I think that was a major bit of business from Celtic.
Monday evening, I think we're in pretty good form, guys, for the new week. It's going to be some week, isn't it? It's huge.
Tomorrow night, Paul.
Well, that's it. We went first there on Rangers because of the game tomorrow night. But for Celtic too, we're going to hear from Ange Postecoglou after the game. We'll hear from GVB, his post-match interview with Sky. And then today, he's been talking about in fact, let's go there first of all. Let's hear about Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos.
Yeah, well, Ryan had today he did some parts of the training. He joined us, so we have to assess him tomorrow if he's fit enough to start or even get minutes tomorrow. Morelos, of course, has been a little bit longer with us training. Had also had his first game on Saturday, first minutes again for the season. Yeah, he's there to take part in the game. If it's from the start, we just also have to assess him tomorrow. But once the whistle goes, we are ready.
Barry, he turned to some of the experienced players. You said on Friday Stephen Davis will play, and he did. What are you feeling for tomorrow? Because this is a £40 million game.
Yeah, he'll play again.
Right.
He was immense in the middle of the pitch. Tillman was good as well. There was a lot of good performances, but for me, Stephen Davis was the standout. Just brings a real calmness and real quality of the Rangers team. Just keeps things simple. And I think that's the reason why Gilles brought him in, because I think there was a bit of nervousness there since the game on Tuesday. I know what the fans would have been like. They would have been demanding on Saturday at Ibrox, and to have a player of his quality come in, he showed it. And for me, he was a standout player on the day, and for me, he's a certain starter on Tuesday night.
Ryan Kent, What's your sense
If he
of
comes
it?
through, listen, he's not trained. You've just heard Gio there, his first session of the day. They just need to, hopefully, he wakes up in the morning and he's okay. And if he is okay, he'll play. No doubt about it. Morelos, I'm 50-50 whether he will start him. I think he'll go with Cholak to start the game, but having Morelos on the bench, if things aren't going great, or even if Rangers are 1-up, they need another goal, to bring him on the last half hour, because you seen the difference that he also made. Just wasn't his presence on the pitch, it was the atmosphere round about the place that he created with him coming on. And it just showed you what the Rangers fans think of Morelos. He's a hero there, and it's just a matter of time before he's up to sharpness. I'm sure the manager will be desperate to get him as sharp as possible, because both Morelos and Ryan Kent are major players for Rangers.
What about the Barnett? He changed the hairstyle or changed the colour. It was a bit like Gaza, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember back in the days when Gaza done that. Yeah, he's had a few dodgy haircuts in his time, but look, just to have his presence back was great for the Rangers supporters, and I'm sure Gio will be absolutely delighted that he's now back in the frame to start.
It was some comeback. Here's the manager.
Well, it's very important for all of us. I mean, it's been 5 months ago since he last played a game for Rangers, so that's a really long time. You forget that sometimes, but he worked hard to be on the pitch today, and he will get stronger and stronger each game he's involved. So I'm really pleased with his first minutes. You also saw the reception of the fans, so it means a lot for all of us that he's in the squad at the moment.
Because, Mark, it's a lot for Cholak, isn't it? He's not a Morelos.
No, but I think Cholak will start tomorrow night, and the fact that he's got a goal as well, Paul, that'll give him a lift, and I think it is too big an ask, I would say, for Morelos after 5 months. Getting 20 minutes on Saturday was great. I think that's what I have a feeling tomorrow night could go to extra time, Paul. So you're looking at getting longer out of Morelos. So I would certainly start with Cholak, all things considered, and then Morelos is a terrific option to have on the bench, because we could see it on Saturday. He comes on and lights the place up, gives the fans a lift, gives his teammates a lift, and gets a goal that secures the points and takes any doubt away as to the destination of the 3 points. Because you're only one down, Kelly always still would have a chance, and I'm sure Derek would have had a go in the sort of last 10 minutes, but when it's 2 goals, then that makes all the difference. But I'm interested in Barry's point about Steve Davis being a certain starter and who plays beside him, Barry, because there's 3 or 4 options for the manager. Yeah,
it looks like I think Davo's got to start, Matt. He's got to start for me. It just proved with that 90 minutes performance there. And as I said, the reason why I thought he would start on Saturday is because obviously there was a bit of criticism after the game, and you need that experience and know-how, and that he's got that all day long. As I said, he just calmed everything down. Even when Rangers were struggling to get through Kilmarnock, he was the one that would go and take the ball and make sure everything was okay. For me, certain starter alongside Lundstrom.
Lundstrom there.
Yep. And then do you play Tillman, because Ryan Kent might come in that left hand side? Me, I'd go Scott Arfield.
Yeah, because you mentioned him on Friday.
Or even Scott Arfield on the right.
Yep.
And Tillman, who they can interchange with each other. But that's my opinion. I think you've got to go with a bit of know-how and a bit of experience. But for me, in terms of Stephen Davis, he has to play.
Rangers fans, what do you think? 0808 17 17 700. Call Barry Ferguson, Mark Guidi, Paul Cooney. You can text us, go plus your message to 87474, and we're on the socials, as you know, at Go Football Show. At the weekend, Aberdeen 4-1 against St Mirren. Great one for Aberdeen. It's a worry for Saints. Motherwell, it was 1-1 until right at the end. Stevie May got the victory for St Johnstone at Motherwell. No manager, and Stephen O'Donnell saying we need players before we need a new manager.
Yeah, I felt that was strange. First and foremost, they need to get a new manager and then make the signings. That's the important thing, that Motherwell need to really get something sorted, I believe, this week. The fans are becoming a bit frustrated. Whether they give it to Stevie Hamill or no, that's another question. He has got experience of coaching. He knows the club inside out. They just need to settle on who they're going to go for, try and get him in as quickly as possible, and then let the manager bring his own players in.
But Mark, you saw Motherwell at the weekend. They need players.
Yeah. They were fragile, Paul. You could see that. The fans haven't got a lot of patience at the moment. Soon there was 1 or 2 mistakes, and the fans made their feelings known, which is is understandable, but it's not beneficial for the players on the part. Yet they dug in to get a stoppage time equaliser, but then they didn't defend well enough at a corner kick, and Stevie May get the winning goal for St Johnstone. I think St Johnstone deserved the points, but I think Stevie Hamill would get the players' vote for the job just now. And you look around, is there an outstanding candidate out with the club? So maybe they might just decide to promote from within, give Stevie a crack at it. He knows the players, he knows the club, financially as well. It might just make sense just now. So we'll wait and see. And I think the one thing about the Motherwell supporters, Stevie Hamill is a club legend, and I think they would give him time and patience, and he would have 3 weeks to go and sort of shape the squad. I don't think he's going to bring in 8 or 9 players, but certainly he'd need to bring in 3 or 4. And I think we've had Stephen on the programme, the Motherwell fan, Barry, you've seen them, Paul. They said that they're lacking a bit of creativity. They need to go and find somebody that's going to create opportunities in the final third. I just think they need leadership now, and they need to decide on a manager. And I'm with Mark, give him the job, Steve Hamill. He's done his apprenticeship. He's done I think 4 or 5 years now. He's been a coach. He knows the club inside out. He knows the expectations. And the big thing with Mark saying that the fans are getting frustrated, 100% they would get behind Stevie Hamill. He's got three or so weeks left in the transfer window. That's plenty enough time to bring in 3 or 4 players and stamp his authority on the team. So even after a bad defeat for them at the weekend, I still believe that he's got to be given a chance, and I really honestly believe that he would do a good job, Stevie Hamill.
Then on Sunday, Hibs and Hearts 1-1. We're going to talk about that in a few moments. And then Livy winning 1-0 at Dundee United. But on Saturday, it was the champion Celtic up at Dingwall. They left it late the last time in December. It wasn't quite as late this time, but 3-1 win. The manager, very pleased.
Yeah, really pleased. We know it's a difficult place to come to. Today was windy as well, which adds another element to it, because that affects how you play your football, control the game pretty much the whole time. And we didn't get a goal, but I just felt really comfortable that first half with the football we were playing. We had good chances, and then we scored, but that's the nature of football. They went up once from a corner and scored, and again it was a test of how I'd react to that, and I just thought the boys reacted brilliantly. We just stayed on task and kept playing our football, and I thought it was a really strong performance in a challenging place.
Barry, you were watching a few games over the weekend, keeping up to date with everything. What did you think of Celtic?
Yeah, I think it deserved to win, no doubt about it. But look, we all know how difficult a place Dingwall is to go. You heard Postecoglou saying about the wind. I say it was blowing a gale. There was a bit of a breeze, but I felt at the stage when it was 1 each, it was just a matter of time before Celtic did score, because I've got that quality in the final third. And their new signing, Jens, coming up for a corner, great finish with the header. Then Abada, obviously, with another great finish and finishing it off. But I think in the end and overall, Celtic did deserve to get the 3 points.
It was a special goal, wasn't it, with Abada, and of course Jota playing such a big part.
Yeah, 3 assists, and I think too you've got to mention Joe Hart's save. Left hand side, strong arm, strong hand, and to keep it out, and then just getting down onto the rebound before it spilled any further. But again, as we've said, if you're going to win titles too, you need good goalkeepers. You need goalkeepers to make saves at important times. And once again, when called upon, Joe Hart stepped up to the mark.
Second goal, of course, from a new signing, Moritz Jens.
Moritz Jens comes in, and I thought he had a great game and scored a goal. Liel comes in and scores a goal. Jacko comes in. I mean, we're really big on making sure that we have a really strong environment for everybody. We work with everybody every day, and it's the level of our training that allows us to produce performances like that. And we can only do that if everyone's engaged. And they'll know they'll get opportunities. This early period, obviously, we've only got a game a week, but once we get to the end of this month, the games will come thick and fast. And they all want to be ready for that. They all want to contribute, and again, credit to them that they did.
Should we be surprised, guys, that there's only 2 teams in the top 2 divisions that are maximum points?
We kind of expect them to win most weeks, but I think if we're doing our predictions on a Saturday night, 9 weeks out of 10 we'd be picking Celtic and Rangers to win. You might have a wee feeling one like they're away from home somewhere, could be tricky, that they might get a draw or whatever, but no, over the piece, I think it's not a huge surprise, but they will drop points. Obviously they will, it'll come, and it'll come when maybe we least expect it. And just on Postecoglou's interview. You were interested in Paul, what he's saying. So I want to keep everybody involved, keep everybody engaged, so that they're ready for when we go to 2 games a week next month. So you look at Stephen Welsh last week, plays with Carter Vickers, gets a goal. Jens comes in, plays with Carter Vickers, gets a goal. Now the only one he's given Ralston minutes and boys, but he's kept with Juranovic and Taylor, but he's mixed it up a bit. Giacomakis coming on, getting minutes. So Turnbull getting a start. So he is mixed. Obviously Hatate was injured, but you can see what he's doing. You know, he's probably got 15, 16 players for the 10 outfield positions that he wants to keep engaged, is the word that he used, as often as possible.
Because he said, Barry, I'm not here to keep the players happy, but everyone's engaged. That everyone knows they're going to play a part.
But you look at the changes he made with Turnbull coming in. Is he going to weaken the Celtic team? We spoke about it last week. No, I said that. He's good enough for me to play in the starting 11, and then again, you go back to who come off the bench: Giacomakis, Abada, and Moy. There's 3 really good players that you could argue could get in the starting 11. So I think both Rangers and Celtic, see if their attitude's spot on and they're at it, you're not going to play well every single week, but if they're at it and their attitude's good, they should be winning. They're too strong for everybody else, in my opinion.
Celtic have been linked with the Marseille striker Bamba Dieng, 22-year-old forward linked with a Premier League move to the likes of maybe Leeds and Newcastle. Didn't happen. Well, we'll watch for that in the next few days. How many? 24 days to go on the window. And earlier there were rumours of Ross Barkley being on Celtic's radar over the weekend. Apparently not true, but we'll talk about that in a second or two. And Celtic coach John Kennedy is on the radar of FC Midtjylland as their new coach. Barry, which one we take? Ross Barkley, we were talking about him just beforehand.
Yes, yeah. Quality player.
Yeah.
When I seen, it's only rumours, I seen him early this afternoon. If they're true, you're getting a guy who's played at the highest level, and you see the ability he's got. You see what he done at Everton, got his big move to Chelsea, and when he has played with Chelsea, he showed that he's more than capable of playing there. So if there's any truth in the rumour, I'm sure that'll get the Celtic fans excited, because for me he's a top quality midfielder.
The word at the moment is no, it's not true. But listen, you never know. And he keeps saying there will be couple of more, there'll be more signings. He says we're alive to signings. What about John Kennedy? Do you think with Harry Kewell in now, this is a chance for him to go to a decent club with a decent European record for John Kennedy?
I think it's all down to John Kennedy, Paul. I'm sure that if John Kennedy wanted to leave Celtic, he could go and get a managerial job. He's not going to leave to go and be an assistant somewhere. He's going to leave to be his own man. You know, he's never really come out in public and said that he's got a desire to do that yet. So maybe at the moment he's still happy being part of a backroom setup. I don't know, but if he declares or privately his agents, his representatives are doing it, then I'm no doubt that John Kennedy would have offers, because he is highly regarded. But I don't know if he wants to become his own man right at this moment in time. It's not, as I say, it's not something he's gone public about, but he certainly has the ability to go and do it.
Barry, would be a big step for him, but also an opportunity.
Yeah, but only John will know whether it's the right time or not. He's for me, he's got a safe job in there. I think Celtic trust him. In the future, could I see John Kennedy being a Celtic manager? Yeah, 100%, because the word on the street is he's very good on the training ground. He knows the game inside out. Obviously his career ended sadly,
far too early.
Yep. But listen, it's up to John. I agree with Mark that Hibs in the past have been linked, and if he shows a desire to be a manager, I'm sure a few clubs would certainly look at him.
We'll look at your predictions from the weekend, and also Duncan, who was on Friday night, to see if he's getting the £300 on top of the 100 he got on Friday. And also, Barry, you're going to give us your team for tomorrow night for the Rangers team in the next half an hour or so. Let's see how you think they'll start and how you think, Giovanni. You too, Mark. Let's do that. Go Radio next.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, your local friendly experts for new and used cars.
Let's go!
Go Radio Football Show with Macklin Motors, Barry Ferguson, Mark Guidi, Paul Cooney. This time tomorrow night, John Hartson will be here, along with Stephen Craigan, that's tomorrow night between 5 and 7. Looking forward to that Go Radio Football Show. Predictions from over the weekend. How do you think you did, Mark? Don't give us all of them just now. Have you got 6 out of 6? That's all I need to know just now.
No, I didn't. I think maybe 3 possibly.
Yeah, keep going.
Three, possibly 4. I think 3. I think 3 out of 6.
Okay.
Paul, I think.
Let Shaban go first. I know I hit that too soon. Barry, put you in the spot as well. We'll find out how it went at the weekend. Yeah, because we were telling you the scores earlier. And then yesterday at lunchtime, Hibs against Hearts. When was the last a finish in a derby like that? It was a bit special, wasn't it? I mean, Hearts will be gutted. Lawrence Shankland getting a goal early on. But Martin Boyle, what a comeback.
Yeah, unbelievable comeback. But first and foremost, I thought Hearts were miles the better team on the day. But again, similar to what happened, the impact that Morelos made for Rangers, it was the same when Martin Boyle come on. The place absolutely erupted, and you could see the difference he brings. Not just his pace, but he's a real threat on goal, Martin Boyle, and he scored the last kick of the ball. So a dream return for Martin Boyle. But Robbie Nielsen will be absolute devastated, because I thought in general Hearts were in control of the game. I think in time Shanklin and Boyce up top will be a real threat going forward, with Barry Mackay just floating about, that kind of free role. But look, I'm really impressed with Hearts.
More about that coming shortly. So we're with Clyde Built Home Improvements. This is your chance to win. Well, another 300 it could be for Duncan if he got it right. He got 100 for coming on Friday night. 300 today. If he doesn't get it, it goes up to 450 this time next week. Duncan, good evening.
Hiya.
How's your weekend?
Oh, not bad, not bad.
You'd be happy about your own team, Rangers winning 2-0 against Kilmarnock?
Yeah.
Fairly comfortable?
Yeah, it seemed comfortable enough for you.
Yeah. And you got Celtic right as well. 3-1 win up there at Ross County, so no surprise. Are you surprised that they're the only two in the top 2 divisions that have won both games? Strange, isn't it? 6 points.
Yeah, that's quite strange, yeah.
So, Aberdeen against St Mirren. I'm just looking. You went for Aberdeen, so it was 4-1 Aberdeen. So, Barry, that's good. Who did you go for?
Aberdeen.
Yep. And Mark?
Aberdeen.
Not your old club, St Mirren. Former St Mirren goalkeeper here. Played with distinction for 20 minutes. Steady. Did you know he played for St Mirren, Duncan? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that, no.
He likes getting a wee digging, doesn't he?
I played for nobody. You know what I mean?
You were a tricky winger,
I got a trial for Blantyre Vixen. It was a trial, and that was it. Right. 4-1 for Aberdeen. So far, you're on to the money. You got Rangers right. You got Celtic right. And then Motherwell against St Johnstone. Do you remember what you went for?
Yeah, I went for a nothing each draw.
I know. Which had it written all over it, didn't it? But it got 3 goals. What did you go for? You went for
St Johnstone 1-0.
So you did. Because we had the smelling salts for you. We thought, what's he doing with St Johnstone?
You said, where's the goal coming from? It was a fair point.
So you got it right. What a result.
Great
for
result
St
for
Johnstone.
Yeah.
The Motherwell fans are gutted here. Barry, what did you think?
I went for Motherwell.
You did?
Yep, I did.
So I'm afraid you're not going to get the money then, Duncan. And then yesterday, so Hibs Hearts, Duncan, your shout was?
2-1 Hearts.
You thought the Hearts were going to do it. Barry?
Yeah, I went for Hearts as well, and they look good for the win. As I said, I thought they dominated the full game. They were the team that always were on the front foot, and as I said, I think Robbie will be disappointed and going away for Easter Road with just a point.
Mark?
Yeah, I went for Hearts as well, so I called it wrong, but I agree. Hearts really should have had the points in the bag. They should have had it sewn up. But again, we spoke about them on Friday night. Paul, big moments, big save. David Marshall kept the score at 1-0. A really, really crucial save in the second half, and that gave his team a platform. He'd still be in the game, and for Martin Boyle to get the leveller.
It was great to see those two in the tunnel beforehand, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
It
lovely.
was a bit long, mind you. Do you notice that went on and on and on? Because they nodded to each other and they bumped hands. Did you see that? Did you watch it, Duncan?
No, I didn't see the game, no.
I went on holiday and came back and they were still there. But it was great to see those two keepers together.
Two quality goalkeepers, and listen, ex-teammates in the national team. They go back a long, long way. But as I said, it's great for our game that both of the keepers are playing in our league. Craig Gordon 39, David Marshall 36. There's still another few years left in both of them.
But the other headline, Mark, which we don't want to see, was the lighter thrown at Alec Cochrane, and then the chips and all the rest of it. But I mean, come on.
It's not pleasant. No, it's not pleasant. And there's no place for it, and we've got CCTV now. There's stewarding. There's obviously a big police presence as well. So you'd think that these people can be identified. We had a spell of it at a lot of our grounds, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It became, a real sort of commonplace occurrence. With coins and different things being thrown. I think Easter Road and Tynecastle and all a number of grounds around the country. So listen, there's no need for it. It was a good game of football. Hibs got the last minute equaliser. There was plenty of drama, but you've got to behave. Go to the game, support your team and behave. Surely it's not too much to ask for.
Yeah, they've got CCTV. Look them, name them and ban them. Because as I said, it was a real good game for me watching it, and you just don't like to see that. Listen, players have got to be safe on the pitch, and what's the point of throwing lighters and chips and all that sort of stuff? I don't like seeing it, so I'm sure Hibs will be strong on it. They'll look through it, and if they get them, I'm sure they'll ban them.
And then the other game later in the afternoon, Dundee United on a high after AZ Alkmaar, the win on Thursday, but they lost 1-0 at home to Livy Montano. What was your scoreline on that, Duncan? What did you think?
I put Dundee United 1-1, I think.
You did. You had Dundee United, so didn't quite do it. Mark, what did you reckon?
I think I had one each.
I think you had the draw. Yep. Barry?
I had one each. He changed and he went to Dundee United.
So he did. That's right.
Oh, sorry, I went 1-0. Did I go 1-0 Dundee United? No, I can't remember.
Yeah.
I
But
did,
anyway,
I had a draw, then you talked to me. And that's right, I went for United.
It's always the same, like Dundee United on Thursday night, let's be honest. They were brilliant.
They were, weren't they?
So it's that one. It's tough on smaller squads. I mean, I'm sure Jack will want. He had a few more signings to make it a bit bigger. But again, I said to you, Livingston, I was impressed with him when I went to watch the Rangers Livingston game, certainly defensively, and they've got some good players, Livingston, so I wasn't overly surprised that they went up there and took the 3 points.
Yep. Duncan, it's all about tomorrow night now for you and for Rangers. We heard GVB earlier on. Let's hear a wee bit more from the manager. This was his reaction to getting the 3 points. He spoke to Sky after the 2-0 win over Kilmarnock.
First of all, pleased with the win, the 3 points. I think that's very important for us. Every week we play in the league. And today we started really well, tried to create and tried to get the first goal as quickly as possible. I think in the first 5-6 minutes we had some chances to do so. But after that, we saw Kilmarnock defending really deep with a lot of passion, which makes it difficult to create any clear chances. If you don't score early, you have to invest in your play to get more pace and chances in the second half. We knew that they couldn't cope with it for the whole 90 minutes. In the second half, you saw the space getting bigger. So then we got more chances to score, which we did eventually 2 times, and managed to add a clean sheet, which is also important. In the end, happy with 3 points again.
Barry, do you agree with your old teammate? That summary of the game?
Yeah, listen, you know teams are going to come and sit back and try and frustrate you. You could see that straight away when I was watching the game. That was Derek's game plan, to try and go as long as possible, and then maybe in the last 10 or 15 minutes have a wee go. But Rangers showed a good bit of patience. That comes down to one guy, and I'll go back to it, Stephen Davis, and they're just bringing a real calmness when fans start to get a wee bit on edge a wee bit, they're only 1-0 up and it's a dangerous score line, but he brings, as I said, he brings real quality to it. But do you know what, it was just a matter of time, and obviously with the changes getting made and Morelos coming on, it was a stick on that he was going to get that goal.
See, on Stephen Davis, do you think, Gio, right, we know Stephen Davis is getting older, 37 now?
Listen, it doesn't matter in terms of his age.
Sure.
You look at the condition that he's in, you look at he trains every single session probably. He's very rarely injured.
So why has he not played him so much? He didn't play him much at the end of last season either.
Look, that's one that you would need to ask the manager. For me, I think Stephen Davis has still got everything in the locker. Don't take away, he's a quality player, we all know that. And some people, I think, get too invested in the age. He's 37, he's too old.
It's a piece of nonsense.
It is. He clearly looks after himself, Stephen Davis. So, and it just showed on Saturday, when I was sitting down watching the game, the difference in there with Stephen Davis. Look, Ryan Jack and Lundstrom have been brilliant. I just think when it comes to pressure situations, having Stephen Davis in the centre of the pitch, I think will make a difference.
Mark, and I wasn't saying about his age. I just think, when you come in as the new manager, you look at it and you look at ages and things, and they want to make a change. I know that, but I listened to you last season, this season as well. Stephen Davis is a class act.
Yeah, Paul, they're 90 minutes away from getting out of the Champions League at the moment. They're out, for the second summer in a row. So you just look at the quality and what you can bring, and the word that Barry has used a number of times tonight to describe it as a calmness that he brings, so that they will all be on edge tomorrow night, from the stands to the manager onto the pitch. Naturally, so you said it, Paul, at the top of the show, it's a 40 million quid game. 40 million pounds riding on this to get into the next stage to play either PSV or Monaco. So when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is assessing it, and I have to say, I don't think Stephen Davis is his first pick. I mean, the evidence is there. You go back to last season, a number of times that he didn't play him. But tomorrow night, this is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's biggest game as a Rangers manager. He's already the European final as a Rangers manager. Now he's got a game where they've got to go and win by 2 clear goals, and Stephen Davis can just control the middle of the pack. There'll be a bit of anxiety with some of the other players, ones that are not as experienced. He'll just calm them down, because what he does, Paul, which is so important at nights tomorrow night, he keeps the ball. He just keeps possession for it. He reads the game, he gets into good possessions, and he can help start attacking. Now, he's not going to be bombing forward and penetrating the back four of Union, but he'll allow others to do that. And he'll just give that protection to whether it's Goldson and Sands or Goldson and Lundstrom or Goldson Davis, whoever it's going to be. He'll give them that protection as well. So I didn't see the full 90 minutes, only seen the highlights on Saturday, so it's hard for me to judge how well Davis plays, but I know what light he's got. And if Barry's telling me he was different class on Saturday, then
he was different class.
I'd be very surprised if the manager doesn't start with him tomorrow night, because he's calm and he keeps possession and he can help build attacks.
It's a pressure situation tomorrow night. Rangers know what they need to do. The fans will be going there, and their numbers with demands and expectations put on them, and that's where you need. If it starts off first 10, 15, 20 minutes, there's nothing really in the game. The crowd, you know what it's like, they get a wee bit impatient. That's where you need a bit of experience, and I think he'll go with the experience. Players who have been through the course before, who know the situations that arises in big games when things maybe don't go to plan. But I fully expect Rangers to come flying out the traps. I've heard people say, no, they need to be a bit cagey and watch. No, they need to go and win the game with more than 3 goals to get through. And I think be attack minded, but also have that security here, the experience of guys like Davis and the team.
Duncan, what do you reckon tomorrow night?
Well, I think it might be a bit of an uphill struggle, but if Morelos and Kent hopefully back at night, help us get us through.
2-0 and then extra time.
Yeah, aye.
Because the place would be rocking by then, wouldn't it?
I've just taken through.
Yeah,
whether it's extra time or no, I couldn't care less. Rangers just need to make sure they're in the next round against either PSV or Monaco. And Mark made a point on Friday night that I didn't even know. £5 million for this game,
just to win it. To get through.
Just to get through.
5 million.
Right, it's not just about. They've still got another game, but they need to throw everything at Union SG tomorrow night and make sure they get through. Whether that's playing rubbish and just making sure they get through, or playing brilliant, scoring loads of goals, who cares? Just make sure you get through.
It's huge. I mean, your fellow columnist Keith Jackson is saying, this is absolutely massive. It's a moment of opportunity, but also a dangerous moment as well. And Simon Jordan this morning was saying about the gulf with Celtic financially. If Rangers lose out on this, it's they could do well in the Europa League again, but the gulf would still be 25 to 30 million. If you don't get the Champions League money, it's a huge blow to Rangers.
Yeah, and I'm sure it would be a blow to Gio's kitty as well, because I'm sure that if they get that 35, 40 million pound being into the Champions League group stage, I'm sure that the Rangers board would give Gio a fair chunk of that to go and strengthen even more. So look, they know how important it is tomorrow night, and I've no doubt. I think it will be a cagey night, but I think Rangers will have enough to get through.
It's also as well, if you're in the Champions League, it makes you more attractive to players. You come,
of course.
So you look at that, and on the point, if Rangers don't, then you look at last January's transfer window, and look at both clubs, what Celtic were able to do and what Rangers couldn't do in the window. Celtic would have that start again, Paul, in January because they've got the money in the bank, whereas sure the Europa League can be very lucrative, but it's not in the same ballpark as the Champions League. So look, it might take extra time. And also you've got to remember, even though it was a 2-0 defeat last week, see, technically it's a 1-0 defeat because the penalty should never have been given. So there's no a class apart here. It's not like they're 2 goals down to Borussia Dortmund. This is Union were decent, but Rangers made them look better than what they are. That's why I think Rangers can do it tomorrow night.
Duncan, thanks very much. There's £100 on the way to you, and we'll speak to you again during the season.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Duncan.
All right.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com. Your local friendly experts for new and used cars.
Let's go!
Thanks, Chris, for the traffic and travel. So thanks, Duncan, for coming on there with Clyde Built Home Improvements. That was his chance to win, well, another £300. We're going to do it again this Friday. So you can register at thisisgo.co.uk. A chance to join us to predict the scores for this weekend. Barry and Mark will be on with us on Friday evening. Duncan, that was decent, wasn't it? He got 3 or 4 of them there out of the
couple of correct scores as well.
He did well, yeah. So we're rolling over. Yep, we're rolling over another £150 into this week's games. So if you're on Friday, you definitely get £100. And if you get all 6 correct, just hope win, lose or draw. You don't have to give us the actual score lines. You're going to get £450 this time next week. Barry, it's rising, like the bonus you used to get.
Like your bonus in here.
Sorry, is that 45 grand bonus it was?
No, it's a decent kitty, that.
That's good, isn't it?
Yep. 6 results you need to get. No, the results, just a win or a lose or a draw. So what's it at? 550 if
that's right, yeah.
You do win.
Yeah, if you win, you're getting 100 anyway, and 450 if you get the 6 results this weekend.
Tough.
Yeah.
It
is, isn't it? And this weekend, of course, Kilmarnock playing Celtic.
Yeah.
Yep. And Rangers against St Johnstone.
That's on Sunday.
Sunday, that's right. Yep. So, this is go.co.uk, and thanks to Clyde Built Home Improvements supporting us on this one. At the weekend, as you'll know the scores by now, it was a win for the champion Celtic, 3-1 up at Ross County. Rangers staying joint top just behind them after 2-goal victory over Kilmarnock, and the other scores as well. We're going to talk shortly about that game, Hibs Hearts yesterday. The 2 newbies scoring, Lon Shanklin for Hearts and then Martin Boyle just off the plane, and he had macaroni and chips on Saturday night, and then he suddenly get the call to say you'll be playing at some point. And then Livy winning at Dundee United earlier. St Mirren fans, what are you thinking? 4-1 defeat to Jim Goodwin's Aberdeen, and Motherwell fans losing 2-1 to St Johnstone. We'll hear more from Ange Postecoglou in a moment or two, but let's go on to the lines again. Paul is on in Hamilton. Paul, good evening.
Guys, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too bad.
So what are you thinking?
Finished, that's all I can say.
That's it, yeah. It's always good to get to the Monday night. Yeah.
Just a quick one. I mean, it's like everybody's listening to the boys there on the way home from work, and everybody's been writing off Union SG, right? Why? I don't know. Because did you ever do anybody do any research? You sent sort of the results for last year, the results for the pre-seasons and all the rest of it. That's not Burnley mugs.
That's exactly what
I mean, it's the exact same, like say, it's only Bozo Glunt and all the rest of it. It's how you can be so adamant about it. We'll beat this mob anyway. There's no bugs in sort of any sort of Champions League, the group stages or qualifiers or nothing.
Mark,
I can't understand how you can write them up.
All right, Paul, the perspective is nobody said that on here, and I think
I said last Monday that this is not going to be an easy tie for Rangers going over there. And after watching the game, albeit Rangers were really poor, Union deserved to win. Right? I think Union are a good team. I don't think they're a great team. And the reason why I think Rangers will win, Paul, is some of these players wouldn't never experience the sort of atmosphere that you get at European nights at Ibrox. So that's the reason why I believe. Look, I looked on them last year, getting promoted, doing really well, good pre-season games, some decent players. But if you look at it over the piece, I think Rangers should have enough to beat them. I'm not writing them off. I'm not saying last week that. I never said last week that.
It's a Celtic supporter, Barry, and then I hope it's all the day keep the efficiency going, because Rangers now work for us, getting us into the Champions League.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, Mark, I think you were putting a bit of perspective on it there, though. Given it's two, it could have been more, but one of them probably shouldn't have counted.
Yeah, I mean, Paul's, nobody said that they're mugs. You'd never be disrespectful to a team that's, actually finished top of the Belgian league, then their playoff system. So nobody on here said they were mugs. Nobody on here has written off Union SG. What we do, Paul the caller, is Paul, we're asked to make a prediction. So, you make a prediction based on what you think. It doesn't mean you're writing them off. You're being respectful. Because we're not on here to no make a prediction or no make a comment or no give an opinion. Otherwise, there's no point in us being on here. So we're respectful to Union SG. The point I made just before the break, Paul, was that even though it was 2-0 and it could have been more, I'm saying technically it's only one. I say I don't think they're Borussia Dortmund. It's not a team that's going to come to Ibrox, I wouldn't think, and rip Rangers apart. That the potential that Borussia Dortmund could do, even though Rangers beat them. There's a warning signs there with Malmo. 10 men last season, Rangers couldn't beat Malmo. So of course there's warning signs. There's stuff you've got to be very careful of. But over the piece, do I think that Rangers could win by 2 goals? Yeah, I do. I think it could probably go to extra time tomorrow night. But if Union SG come to Ibrox tomorrow night and get a draw or sneak a 1-0, I wouldn't be overly surprised, because they've got that in the locker. But we're asked to make a prediction, and when you tip one team and not the other, it doesn't mean to say you're being disrespectful to a team that you don't think is going to win the game.
But take their weekend result out of the equation.
So they lost 3-0.
Yeah, they rested some of the most important players. And to be honest with you, they surprised me. But I've played in Europe enough times to realise in these qualification games that you go away. I spoke about it last week. Maribor, you watch them in video and you think, oh look, they look all right, but they've got real decent technical players, and that's what Union SG had. But overall, I think Rangers should have enough to beat them, but I think it could be a long night for them. I think it could be 120 minutes.
Paul, you make a great point there about the coefficient though, and Celtic are benefiting in the Champions League. How much are you looking forward to that? The draw?
A draw's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see who we're going to get. It'll be Champions League standard. And honestly, I don't think so. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think any. I think sort of Celtic and Rangers are Europa League. With the money and all that's involved, with the larger clubs and the sort of monopoly that they've all got. But it'll be interesting, because I'm not fearing nobody at Parkhead. I mean, we've got the capability of beating anybody at Celtic Park.
Try and make it a fortress again.
Yeah, look, see when Celtic, when their group gets announced, I don't care if there's big clubs or whatever, they come and that crowd behind them. You hear a lot of these players or clubs speaking about coming to Glasgow, whether it's Celtic Park or whether it's Ibrox, that they've never experienced an atmosphere like it. And even back, again, I'll go back to when I played, like teams coming, it was a crowd that helped you get through, you know what I mean? You could see some of the players on the pitch thinking, God, the atmosphere. And Celtic will create that at Celtic Park on European nights. And don't be surprised if they get some surprising results.
Paul, can we talk a wee bit of Celtic with you before you go? Here's Ange speaking after the 3-1 win, and he's talking about the resilience of the team.
There's definitely a resilience and belief in this group that, irrespective of what challenges before us, they'll stick to task. They won't lose belief in each other or our football, and that's an important part. It was probably the most crucial part of our sort of campaign last year. What we want to do is obviously keep improving our football, but we don't want to lose that. That's gold, the fact that they can overcome these things. And even at 2-1 you go, okay, well, let's just shut up shop, we'll go and score a third, because that's the kind of team we want to be.
A lot to think about with your team. What about Moritz Jens? I know it's early days, but not a bad way to start to get the goal.
I think he's head or rail, actually. I mean, it's something the resilience that Ange's actually says, yeah, it is there, because we don't stop. You don't stop for 90 minutes. Celtic's always been a team that's actually done that anyway. Ross County, did they park the bus and hope to hit something like a fleet one? Yeah, they did, because the possession showed tendencies as well. Yeah. But we've got to be resilient.
I think when you listen to Ange Paul, when you listen to Ange Postecoglou there, and just some of the you think Celtic won 2-0 last week against Aberdeen, but he picked out one or two things that he was unhappy about. One or two players he said is the main culprits. I think Jota being one. Exactly. But what I think I'm hearing now and watching Celtic and listening to Ange, he's obviously has already got one eye in the Champions League, even though they don't know the draw yet. I think he's ready to go up a level. I think he's got a lot of confidence in this team. You hear the way he talks. He's got a confidence in the team. I think as a manager, he's ready to go up a notch, and I think he wants his players to come with him. And if they're not going to go up a notch with him, they're not going to be in the team, whether that's domestically on a Saturday or midweek Tuesday or Wednesday in the Champions League. So just something about Ange's manner, the way he's been speaking in public, that this guy's ready to go again. This guy's really got it between his teeth. First and foremost, make sure they retain the title, and B, do as well as they can in the Champions League.
Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that one for once in
a bit of agreement. Barry, what do you reckon about Celtic?
Do you know, when I was watching the game, I was flicking between the two of them and obviously watching it. One thing, when they go 2-1 up with 5 or 6 minutes to go, sometimes you're thinking, right, go and sit back and make it difficult for Ross County, but he's not going to change. They're still flying forward, numbers forward, and listen, to get the goal. That's the way that Postecoglou plays, and he's not going to change. No way is he going to change, and that's a potential banana skin, because Malky's got a decent team up there.
He knows his stuff.
But it's the time to go up there. Pitch is decent. Weather wasn't too bad. But listen, it's
not too bad.
It's a
sunny.
It's a place you always look and think to yourself, you need to be on it. If you're not on it, you could drop points.
Paul, and what do you want to say about Jota? I mean, 1 goal already and 3 assists on Saturday.
The guy's class. I was in it the game against Aberdeen. And the guy just isn't class. He's actually there, some playing down some of the right. But the good thing about Ange, he swaps that between him and Maeda, the two of them are swap wings. And that way, that way gets the other defence working, right? What way is it going to come? What way is it going to go? So he just changes it all of a sudden. 1 minute, Jota's on the left, next minute, Jota's on the right. And it's good the way he sort of plays that, because that didn't let any other team sort of settle.
Barry, you like Jota down the left, though?
Yeah, but I would rather he played in the right for Celtic. No, but listen, I think the left side is so much more effective, and you've seen that with his assists. But again, see if he continues this sort of form, Celtic will struggle to hold on to him. They will, because he's a real match winner. He has. Look, never knew anything about him, and he's come into this country last year. He was a breath of fresh air, and if he continues this level, clubs will be eyeing him up.
And Paul, I think I don't know him, but you know, I'm not comparing him with Ronaldo, right? So we're not getting carried away. But he looks, and he's answered the manager. Mark, I'm looking at you. You know, last weekend the manager called him out, but I'm hearing that he's training really hard, that he's determined to be as good as he could ever be.
Yeah,
in the future.
And part, can I just goes back to the point I made 2 minutes ago. But the manager, he's not going to stand for passengers. He wants to see improvement, because he works for them every day in the training field with his staff to improve them. So they need to show that same hunger and desire. And the squad is so strong. There's 18 or 19 really good outfield players there. No two just about for every position. If you're not on it, there's somebody waiting in the wings just to go and step in. So he's created that environment where players know they've got to be on it in training as well. Particularly at the moment, because he says we've only got 1 game a week. So there's a desperation to be involved, because you're only getting 1 crack at it. Saturday afternoon, if you're not there, then you have to wait another week to go and go on. So, you know, Monday to Friday, I can sense that they are working very, very hard, because if they're not, they're going to get left behind.
Paul, thanks very much for calling.
No problem. See you later, guys.
Cheers, thank you. Paul. And at the weekend in the women's football, in the SPFL, Celtic 9, Hibs 0, Rangers 14, Glasgow 0. And Glasgow City 7, Spartans 0. You see the gulf between the big three and the others, don't you?
The strongest. I know Rangers or Celtic are full time. Glasgow City, I think, are still part time, but they train 4 nights a week. It's going to come down to day 3. For me, they're far too strong for all the other teams.
Dundee United and Motherwell, they drew 1-1. Hamilton and Aberdeen, so it was a 3-1 win for the Ackies, and Hearts a 3-1 win over Partick Thistle. Right, that's the first hour. Can you believe it? That's been quick. Second hour. Rangers fans, what you thinking? 08 17 17 700. And Celtic fans, what about Jota? What about what's the
play him on the right?
That's all coming up after the news.
The Go Radio Football Show with MacklinMotors.com, your local friendly experts for new and used cars.
Let's go!